I think we're live now. uh, yeah,
All right.
sorry about it. Just first stream on the year, and of course there are technical problems. Hopefully, everything will be working fine. But hey, we are back. Tabletop Technician Work uh, Network. Of course, I'm Blaze, and we've got Adult GM and Jeff on Big Campaign Podcast. Sure. How have you been?
Good, good. Enjoying the cold days up here in the Pacific Northwest.
It's been pretty good here in Texas. Been like beyond normally cold recently, but
Yeah, it's chilly here in Germany, but nothing too out of the ordinary considering that we're in the middle of January. Uh, so yeah, today's stream will be a bit more chilled. We'll just talk about what we did during the break. We're probably only going to be streaming for 1 hour. We'll see how much time we can fill.
okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that before the stream turned. Sorry, like I said, technical difficulties, kind of rushed start. That's also why we're 2 minutes late. But I mean, I guess it's on brand that with us that nothing works right. Kind of weird for our channel that's calling themselves Technicians Network. I mean,
It is an ironic name.
I did choose it. It was the Technomancer Kyle. Anyway, how about Jeff? Why don't you start? What were you doing the last 3-4 months and before?
Oh, see here, last 3-4 months. Oh, a lot of the same. It's working on the podcast, running my home games. See here, I got a pair of kittens, so I have kittens now. Those are very fun, and they're very adorable. I got COVID for my first time. That was not as fun as kittens, but still,
Yeah.
good run. It was, but yeah, these last 3-4 months have been pretty by the book. There's, which is to say, I mean, that's good, right? Nothing, no surprises, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing horrible. It is just cold days and sticking with the plan.
No tabletop RPG related projects you were working on the side, or just full on holidays, taking it easy?
Yeah, I mean, the usual stuff, right? Like I run a home game every week between two groups, so every other week uh, I have a different home group I'm playing with, and then I have the podcast itself, which I try to put out an episode every week for us. Which so far we're doing good. I have a new episode I just recorded last night. I got to get done for next Saturday, but yeah, all around.
So no winter break
haven't worked
for
on
the
anything.
podcast.
No, just kind of keep putting stuff out as I can, and when it comes time to it, we'll take a break when we need to.
I mean, as long as you don't get any burnout. But I guess that's the content creator grind, right? No breaks, not even on Christmas. I think we could learn a bit. Yeah, on my side, I kind of stopped streaming, and of course, Tabletop Technicians Network had a winter break, and most of my tabletop RPG campaigns also were on break, and I had to skip a month for Ishinakon Arena. But yeah, enough about me. Eternal GM, what did you do?
Well, on the play testing of the system, we've made it far enough in Barovia. My players are about to die, so we've already kind of discussed what we're doing next. There's only so much two non-magical players can do. Playtest document has gotten enough progress. I can actually say some stuff. We are down to 12 to 15 pages of rules. And that's for everything you could need to do anything in the system. Let's see. And once combat gear is added in, we will be ready to start pushing this out. We should be there in about 2 months, and that'll even include the playtest adventure as well as the maps for it. So I kept really busy being out here just with a friend. There's not a lot of holiday stuff that's going to go on. So I took advantage, and while the rest of the crew was busy, just kept knocking stuff out for it. So we have a full-on official being ordered right now, but playtest table of contents order. So you'll be able to look through that, click where you want to go, and it immediately go there. I actually did not know I could do that with Google Docs. I'm actually pretty new to that program, to be honest.
Very cool.
Nice. Well, yeah, I guess. Do you want to add something else, or should I continue?
I mean, it's other minor details, like we finalized like which all species and races are coming in the core system book and in the Secret Realms expansion. So small things like that. Really, it'll just be stuff that once I have the playtest document ready to go, I just put it in the Discord server over here, over on mine, put it out everywhere, and start going, all right, now I'm ready for that D and GM's day off. Except it's going to be a designer's day off instead. Like,
yeah, for those who missed it, next week we'll have the second GM's day off. This time we'll be playing Rogue Octopus made by Nick Turner. It's a hilarious game. I had the joy to play test it twice. Yes, twice. You basically play as a bunch of octopuses that try to escape from some sort of human's facility, be it a zoo, a laboratory, a restaurant, or something. And Cross will be running the game this time, so they can play as an octopus, and we'll be trying to escape a mafia boss. We're going to be his pets, and still need a name for my octopus, but I going to play a crafty one. Who can tinker with human inventions and turn their weapons against them.
it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's very
it's
fun.
Sounds like a
cool. It's more
TTRPG.
hilarious. Quite frankly, it's just so funny, especially if you lean into the cheese and just do crazy ideas. In the first game, I had to wrestle a seal. We were escaping an aquarium, and we accidentally got into the worst aquarium we could get to. Just like, oh no, these are the seals. And my partners just kept rolling horribly while I was already climbing out of the glass, and I saw the seals coming in, and I was like, I'm going to buy my allies some time, and I just jump at the seal, try to wrestle this, rolled horribly, almost being eaten by the seal. The only thing that saved us is that I dropped the most epic ink bomb afterwards, just filling the whole aquarium. But the second game was even weirder. We had to break into a military base to save the daughters of the Octopus King. And it was the whole facility trying to build human octopus hybrid super soldiers. And my octopus, Rusty, used the chance to get robotic tentacles, just jumped into the machine that produced the super soldiers. It was awesome. But yeah, anyway, enough about the game next week. It will be hilarious, so anybody who likes to see it, you tune in.
I don't know. I might. I'm kind of stuck on seeing Terminator Octopus and a Rick Sanchez Octopus now.
Yeah, the thing is, Rusty the Octopus, I also played him from the first game. The Octopus King specifically hired us because we escaped a human facility before. But now I have to retire the character because with the robot tentacles, he's too overpowered.
Ooh.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, what I did during the break. Yes, most of my games were nice. Yes, most of my streams were nice. But I wasn't completely idle. I might have wasted too much time in video games and not have been as productive as I would have liked. But I've been working on the 2.0.0 patch for Ishinegon World Shapers.
Oh, very cool.
During that time, the patch is going to have 20 new sub archetypes, which are already finished and designed, and will have base building rules. I'm still have to work out a few details there, but the foundation is there. That pun was not on purpose. and yes, I'm currently adding secondary descriptions to all the creatures on the website. Currently, they have one description which is mostly about flavor, the personality of the creature, and so on. But I thought it would be helpful to have a short description of the gameplay side of the creature. What kind of what's the main idea behind the creature, giving GMs small tips for what to take into account when using the creature. So with specific creatures saying this is a great creature to summon as a support creature, stuff like that. Almost done. I mean, there are already 100 plus creatures on the website. I currently have like 70% done. I mean, it's kind of important to mention that the fire elemental has a constant heat shock wave around them and instantly setting everything on fire that it's within 1 meter, right? You don't, as a GM, just want to use it and suddenly find out, oh, yeah, right, everything burns. Makes it also easier to get an instant read on the most important features, especially those that are out of the ordinary. Yeah, I mean, I could blabber on more about more sub archetypes, but do you want to add something?
No, let's see. It's tough. I mean, didn't have, like I say, I didn't have that much going on here, so it's not too much crazy to chat about for me, unfortunately. Here.
Okay, I guess we're not going to fill up the 1 hour, are we?
I did have kind of a interesting one. Like I'd already be done with combat gear, except I kind of got into it and I'm like, all right, so my characters have that, and my game has that basic attack function that can speed up as you get further into it. Well, I'd straight forgotten about that while calculating, well, how much should the weapons do? Since we're having this build up of different qualities and materials that will add damage, I start looking at it and realize, oh, wait, my fighter's doing 120 damage a turn. This needs to drop. And I spent probably half the month working around with how to tweak that down to, something that at least combat would last 3 or 4 rounds if you wanted to have something more powerful. But if it's each character's doing over 100 damage a turn, that's not going to work out well. So I had to ready to put it in the document, stop, erase everything, and start thinking about my totals again. And that was a wild ride. Like I had to take 60% of what was boosting power dropped what was still going to be remaining down, and then it kind of balanced. It still needs play testing, but it's no longer over 100 damage a turn.
There's always the one thing you overlook, and suddenly you have an infinite damage combo or something like that.
Oh yeah, it was horrible because it's like you're like 60 damage a turn at max level. That doesn't sound. They get 3 attacks, and if they spend a stamina each for the other 3 and they're a martial, that's 6 attacks per turn. That is a lot more than 60 damage a turn. And that's where I had to stop and go, hey guys, we're just using the basic weapons, base damage and dice. I'll work on this. But no, I was ready to put that in the book 3 weeks ago. And then I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, when I designed
That was definitely.
that would what?
I was saying that was definitely a trip.
Yeah, when I designed a new greater talent for the short bow, originally it allows you to have like a combo attack and kept shooting with more and more imprecise shots until you miss. And then I realized, wait a second, attacking a restrained creature is an auto hit. So basically, this would allow you to have an infinite damage combo if you're attacking a restrained creature. Same with options, right? Just and I was okay. Let's limit that combo, even if it gets like -5 to hit additively for each additional attack you're trying to make. uh,
Yeah, no, I had to figure out something to like tie it all together. And ultimately, what we all came down to is we're already putting a lot of weight on the modifier being important. Since we have a stat that represents no matter what type of physical character, arcana for your spellcasters, mysticism for psionics, you have a modifier that's directly tied to your attack potential. So we just modeled everything focusing off of that modifier, which is how we got the damage to like, yeah, at level 30, you're probably going to be doing like 50, 60 damage a turn. But now that's not barely into the game. It actually, we only have up to a +3 on the materials where we added this system in that's like, let's say you have a rank 2 material and I use a rank 3. Well, your resistance capability has gone down. So you're going to soak less damage, but you're still going to be able to dodge as well as you would normally, just affecting the materials. But if I have 2 materials or above, it's as if your armor does not exist. You may still have any dodge bonuses, but any absorption. So where some now don't give you a damage boost for the upper material or quality, it still is valuable to increase your materials so that you don't give your opponents that advantage in materials or quality. So instead of focusing on damage, it's more of a kind of circumstantial material comparative difference. So that's kind of how we ended up solving that little problem with we wanted better quality weapons. Like I love playing video games like Skyrim and improving the quality of weapons, also different materials. I spent so long bringing that into tabletop. Now I couldn't remove it even if I wanted to. It's just too cool.
yeah, I do love crafting. That is something I also wanted to bring to my tabletop RPG. But it's gotta be. I mean, we already had that topic, right? Did we had a topic about like a stream about crafting and so on?
I'm not sure if it was crafting as much as character archetypes that would be the crafty individuals or stuff. Maybe we discussed how um like subsystems like crafting, operating, were these in your system or not. But
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know if we've actually
when we talked about the intelligent based characters, we went into the crafting and talked about that. You know, what I forgot to mention, last week I had my first stream of the year, the third Ishanekon Arena AI Uprising. Was fun, but wait a second round. The it was supposed to be just these giant battle mechs with mini guns as arms and a rocket launcher on the back, and each of them having a small repair drone to keep them in the fight.
Mhm.
And in the end, they did not land a single hit. I just kept rolling miserably for them. And I decided to have show up the digital die so that the audience can see it. So it's not like I could play the GM card. So, oh no, this one just happened to hit, even though I rolled a 2. That was frustrating. Even at the end, I was like, okay, whatever, cinematic action, just shooting rockets everywhere. Still rolled miserably. As a GM, you don't want to beat your players, right? But you want to at least show off your creatures a bit, right? Make them look intimidating. Give the illusion that it's a tough fight. At the end, the players were joking about that they were just standing there, stretching out their arms, and the bullets just flying all over the place and nothing hitting them.
Man, that makes me feel like that just yesterday I rolled 4D2 coins on the app on the Discord, and I got 4 1s. And I know it's a 50% chance, but it doesn't feel any better knowing that. Just because it was 4. Like all at once, not like separate. No, this is roll 4D2, got 4 1s. And I had to go, well, you're not poisoned miraculously.
Yeah. Got an Ishanekon Arena next month also. I'm going to indulge myself because it will be one day before my birthday, so it's going to be birthday themed. And the players will be fighting actually different versions of myself. It's my birthday. I can't play some with self inserts, okay?
You
You could always have them escaping the party room level of the back rooms.
I don't know that one. Jeff, what did you just say, Ulrika?
Oh, I said, yeah, it's your birthday. You're allowed to self-insert once a year. If you want to use it on this one, go for it.
I already got the 3 phases planned. I think it's going to be cool. Well, I'm not going to spoil anything, even though I want to. I think that's the worst part of being a GM, when you have these awesome ideas for the game, the story twists that you've been working on for months and so on, and you just want to tell your players, but you can't. And then you have like to find somebody that you can share the information with without it being just destroying your whole campaign by sharing that kind of information.
Just also make sure the person you tell isn't there to hear you running the game, because that person almost cracked up laughing without covering their mouth before leaving the room, because they knew what's funny about the situation. And to give a little context, my players had been friends with Vasily in Barovia for 15 sessions. That is the undercover act of Strahd, who walks around as Vasily. So they have been giving every secret in every action they are doing and asking him questions. This is the enemy of the game. And my friend Sarah knew this, and she heard him say to Vasily, Barovia just doesn't deserve you. And she almost died laughing and had to run out. I'm like, thank God this is online game, because everyone would know something is up right now.
Oh, yeah, that
That's
is
great.
ironic, isn't it? uh,
Oh, I've never faked anyone out that good. Like, I actually had a player not talk to me outside of game sessions for like 2, 3 weeks because he was hurt. He really liked Vasily.
oh no.
He was like, he bought his food. Like, he's such a good guy. Wait, that's Strahd. I'm not talking to you anymore.
Uh, um, yeah. Any big twists you had, Jeff, that you're, of course, already revealed? Otherwise, we would not ask you to tell us about it on stream.
Let's see. Podcast wise, no, I don't have anything I could reel there. Um, I my home game stuff. Um, I've had a lot of fun building in a new plane growing over the current material plane that they're at. So I'm introducing new custom monsters, new weird creatures, creations, things of that nature. All that, of course, put with the idea that my players don't know why it's there, only that it is, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so they are, sadly, last session we had to skip because too many people were not able to make it. But the I'm waiting to reveal the plot twist for them to find out that this was a bioweapon from a different plane that they had screwed over a couple campaigns ago.
Oh,
That is
recurring
finally coming
villains.
back to bite them. Yes, I'm a huge fan of recurring villains. And hey, remember that thing you did like last year that you thought didn't matter? Surprise, it's here. The thing you did, repercussions.
Yeah,
So that's very fun.
that reminds me of a campaign where the players were in a swamp and there was this green hack who wanted to talk to them, inviting them into uh, her dead tree house. And I had this whole role play session in mind where she was trying to tempt them with the deal that, of course, don't trust the hack and so on. But my players were just standing in front of the tree and were like, we're not gonna risk it. But the cocktail, throwing it onto the tree, burning a tree down. Of course, the hack escaped, right? And came back in the next part of the campaign with a whole covenant to take revenge. It was the
Nice.
first time the player were on the defense because they did not know where the hack was. She just sent one attack after the other. But yeah, but
That's
that
fun.
was
Those are
hmm?
fun monsters.
What?
Oh, I've never used a hag. Those sound like fun monsters.
I've used them a couple of times. Yeah, they have a very interesting role playing part, right? Because a hack, she prefers to not fight but to corrupt you, offer you can refuse. No, but yeah, one of my best friend has kind of a hack phobia in the game. Whenever even something remotely hack like comes, he is like, I don't trust her at all. Do not take any deals. Actually, one of the characters he's specifically playing in one of the campaigns has been cursed by a hack, and now he's afraid of any vaguely old woman that is even vaguely magical, or if he sees any magical effect, he immediately thinks, "Oh my God, it's a hack! We have to get out of here." uh, which was fun
No,
in
that's fair.
which was fun in Eberron,
Oh,
where of
mm,
course in Eberron everything is morally gray. Nobody's just cartoonishly evil, or okay, there are some, but you cannot just presume from their race that somebody's evil. And I wanted to show them, and they were in that nation where all those monster races were, and they went into a shop to buy potions, and it was run by a relatively young hag, and she was super friendly, even offered free cookies, and she was generally nice, and that best friend just did not trust her at all. So, but I wanted to, show them that even a creature that's just so unapologetically pure evil in any other setting could be nice than ever. Hmm.
Hmm.
Eberron is a cool setting.
Yeah, that was it, what is it? I think it came out at the right time. I wish there would have been a little bit more support for it because it kind of came out towards the end, but I think it introduced a lot of people to a lot of fun ideas that
Hmm.
they had not considered for D&D before.
Have any of you ever played in a or run a Eberron campaign?
I don't think I've actually run an Eberron one as much as I've had character and villain backstories that were from Eberron. Yeah, no, I haven't specifically done one. We were doing they wanted to be magical characters and go into the Shadowfell. So using the Van Richten's guidebook, turns out there's actually an Eberron connection to the Shadowfell. So we didn't actually play in Eberron. We played on that ghost train that's constantly going. I don't remember where it is, but it's the train reality that's the domain of dread for Eberron.
Mhm.
But that's as close as I've come.
Yeah, I got to play in a Eberron game. I think I had a Yonti half blood paladin, and yeah, had a blast running around being Crunk from Emperor's New Groove, but as a paladin.
Oh, great character.
Uh,
What kind of
but
oath
yeah, I
did you
really
take?
enjoy all the. What was that?
You said you played a paladin, right? So what kind of oath did
Mhm.
you take?
Oh, I am. Let's see here. Let me check really quick. I don't remember. Since I'm not as familiar with that system. They don't stick in my brain as much. I think I did the Oath of the Watcher.
Ah, okay.
Um,
Weird for a grunk
should-
alike, but okay.
or hold on, because I was. Let's see here. Isn't there one that's supposed to be for normal people, like your champion of the
Oath
is it
of
the
Glory, you
crown?
mean? Or Oath of the Crown?
What's that?
Oath of Glory?
Uh, yeah, probably Oath of Glory. It was one where I was supposed to be more powers benefiting helping the common folk. So tried to make sure that my paladin was a good, upstanding, help the old lady cross the street kind of folk.
Okay, maybe you're talking about Oath of the Crown. I think he's more about support, but whatever. It's not that important.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We played. I think we got up to like level 8 or so before the campaign died, as they are wont to do. But I really enjoy, even though my paladin was a little too dumb to enjoy the finer mysteries of the world. I myself am always a big fan of seeing all the cool interplay between houses and dragon marks and the technology that they find ways to connect into the game.
One of the very few characters I ever played, for ever GM, was also a dumb paladin. He was actually a strong man of a circus. We were all part of the same circus, so and we were still missing a tank, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a strong man, Oath of Glory, and he was dumb, like 8 wisdom, 8 intelligence. Uh, but it was fun. And also, he was a good counterbalance to the group because they tended to think too much. And uh, how was it say something? The Glorious, I think, was it? Of course, Circle Strongman. His name was exaggerated, but he just kind of just ran into the problem, trying to solve it with his muscles.
Uh, no, and I don't know. I would say that what is it? The dumb paladin who rushes into the fray is a very good use of the Leroy Jenkins type character. Uh, if you need to inspire your party to stop overthinking, having your paladin say, "Well, is this the good action or the right action?" And they go, "Well, we got to think about it." You're like, "No, I'm going to do the good thing." And then you jump through the window onto the monster, and then they go, "Well, now we have to help."
Yeah, that reminds me of the one campaign where I was actually playing a wizard. It was Curse of Strahd, and I was all about helping uh, civilians that were being attacked. But I got outvoted, and among the ones that voted against helping those was the paladin, and I was angry. Just, you're supposed to be the goody two shoes. Why are you not on my side?
Uh,
Uh, but yeah, what else? But for those Leroy type characters, I've actually one of the new sub archetypes I designed for the next patch fits that role perfectly. The hero who gets stronger the more he is outmatched. The more he is outnumbered and the higher the levels of the enemy compared to himself, the more buffs he gets, and those buffs can be really strong. So, yeah, for all the Leroy Jenkins out there, that's your sub archetype.
You know, since you brought up Eberron and Barovia, I have to tell on myself of allowing something, and that ended up being a big mistake. Like, you're like, okay, yeah, you can let someone play a tech type homebrewed paladin. It's not broken. It was perfectly fine. He was a game master as well. Cool, that's fine. The other decision, yeah, you can play a Warforged. Here's the problem with this: them combined is so broken in Curse of Strahd. This guy realized, wait, I can just heat metal myself and hug vampires, and I'm like, and I can't tell you no, because that makes sense.
But that also
Like,
hurts
this was
himself.
such a problem. Death House became a problem because they did heat metal, and now the whole room's filling with steam. I'm like, oh, this is not good. So the whole campaign, he just hugged vampires.
But that deals a lot of self damage. Plus, you need to keep
Not if you are a Warforged, when I didn't know the biological side of them at the time. So I'm thinking they're just pure mechanical. So why is fire damaging it? So I just let him hug vampires the whole fucking game. Didn't remember that's technically some biologics to
Yeah,
Warforged.
they're partly made out of wood, which they need to survive.
Yeah. So that was one of those mistakes by not doing research and not thinking it through. But I had a tech paladin warforged that hugged vampires with heat metal. Like, this was really messed up, but had some great funny moments of the guy busting out the back of the trailer as a robot as they're pulling him around, and he's just like, "Give me all your magical weapons," and everybody in the town like hauls ass because they're like, "This is some freaking robotic creepy thing. What is this?" And he's just a hero from some different area.
Mhm.
Strahd called him Metal Man and had to engineer ways to get up really close to him. Enter Vasily, so that I could not use Game Master magic, have Strahd figure out what the hell this is so he can learn how to defeat it.
Punch it really hard.
That was an interesting. It was. A lot of it was restraining it and taking out the other players to where he couldn't do the supportive actions and then make things he couldn't touch. still difficult with Curse of Strahd. You should not allow a Paladin Warforged into Curse of Strahd.
I mean, Paladin itself is already a strong class for Curse of Strahd, isn't it? Extra damage
Technically,
on death.
if you want to go off as a game master, you want no less than 5 people, preferably 6, and you want a cleric and a paladin on your players' teams, and at least one type of mage, and something like a fighter. As long as you have those 4, you can kind of waver with what you have there. If you don't have one of those 4, you will find yourself holding back a part of Barovia, or it's going to ruin the game.
Yeah.
Just double checking.
Yeah.
It's probably not that bad in 5th edition as it was in 3.5, but in 3.5, Paladins had an aura of good from level 1 that marked them as this beaming glory light. They counted as an outsider. So if you cast Detect Good, they would shine the brightest possible, which really made them basically impossible to play. It required that meta smooth over that every DM has to do, right? Like, oh, sure, like that character's fine. Like it's about having fun at the table. But that was always one of those silly moments of, so this character is the this character walks in just covered in axe spray, and everybody can be like, that's the guy. That paladin right there. Fucking smell him across the room. It's like, well, how are you supposed to sneak around? How are you supposed to be part of the party when any villain's like, I cast Tech Good? Every paladin just ding illuminates. No, 5e, they got rid of that, thank goodness, because it was just a silly power that everyone forgot until it screwed you over.
Yeah, the alignment system has its problems. I wouldn't say that's 100% problematic. I think the problem is if you force it onto every setting. If you have a setting like the Forgotten Realms where it's baked into the foundation of the universe, then I think you can work with it, right? If you accept it's a bit cheesiness, right? I think then it can work. But if you take it super serious, or if you try to put it into every setting, then it stops working and just gets in the way of freeing yourself and just role playing a person.
That's why I've said that, like, the paladin is something that people need to really think when they're adding it into their system. Like, take in consideration when Gygax put the paladin and similar religiously tied classes together, and he said you can't do stuff outside your alignment. That wasn't restricting you as a player, that was balancing the power of that class. It outright was more powerful than the fighter, and it had more variety of abilities. So not being able to kill this guy to get money so the team doesn't starve is actually balance for the character and the overall party. A lot of people don't literally like that kind of Gygaxian design. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't just remove alignment and keep the paladin as they are. Part of their power is they're balanced by the held and being held back on. I can't help y'all with this. It'd be like, but you're the reason we'll win. But I can't. I cannot betray my oath and my path for my God, or I will lose my power. Then I'm just some fool that can swing a sword and not even half as decent as the fighter. I feel both sides of that argument. Like, the paladin should be powerful, yeah, but it shouldn't outperform the fighter in physical combat routinely. It shouldn't be more powerful magically than a mage. So it's got to have a balance, but then it's more capable than most character classes by that variety. There's got to be some way to tone it down to where it's not using alignment, because I get how some people are like, oh, alignment sucks. Like, alignment in my system isn't required. But if you don't know how to play a character you've never role played before, please look at our role playing and our alignment and personality system. It'll give you options of what you should do in all sorts of situations just by your choices there, including behavior. But when you require it, I can see why they did that with the paladin. But I think 8 out of 10 games are moving away from alignment. So the paladin's power levels should resemble that. Instead, I see a lot of people keeping them at the same power level without any of the restrictions that used to be there.
Yeah, that's it's also character balance. When you start removing stuff, similar with the wizards and other pure casters that are way stronger than martial characters. In earlier editions of the game, it was balanced by them being super weak at the start and needing a ton of XP to level up. And they really relied on the fighters to keep them alive until they became demigods. But if everybody levels up at the same rate,
Mhm.
and you don't nerf wizards accordingly, suddenly they are insanely overpowered, especially in the second half of the leveling process.
Oh, yeah. I found this channel that actually went through all classes with the most popular types of builds, trying to optimize even. And it showed how imbalanced things like 5e typically are, that martial caster divide. They put mages on a kind of neutral, not really intentionally making them bad, not trying to match anything up and make them way better. They were outperforming min maxed martial builds hands down.
Mm-hmm.
By they were able to take out 30% or more of a battle's confrontation compared to the fighter. They also, by level 12 to 14, were as hard to hit as marshals. So they're able to do more damage per turn and they're harder to hit. By
Mm-hmm.
level 12 to 14, every reason for being a marshal is gone.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? You would think, oh yeah, but they're glass cannons. No, they're not. They're tougher than the marshals, which is ridiculous.
Well, like that's something I got in an argument with someone on online in the comments the other day where they were arguing that AC has everything to do with dodge rating and nothing to do with armor. And I'm like, it's literally armor class, but okay. But take this for instance. How the hell does light armor, which is easier to maneuver in, make you easier to hit than heavy armor, which increases your, you know, armor like class, but somehow makes you harder to hit? I don't know about, and they're like, well, it's all about damage. And I'm like, but then wouldn't the armor remove damage? If it had anything to do with damage, you can't just go, oh, well, I'm harder to hit, so I take less damage per hit. I'm like, that's not how that works. This is why we have dodge rating and armor rating.
Mm-hmm.
One is about,
It's
do I
linear.
hit you or not? And the other, I just did it simple. Like, gives you a little plus on your weapon damage, a minus a few damage per hit for your armor. But like, no, it always bothered me going, yeah, I'm just going to intentionally, no matter which class or build I'm doing, I want the biggest, most beefiest armor I can wear because that's going to make me harder to hit. Just sounded weird. Always has.
I mean, if you're playing in a system with abstract, then yeah, it's the same thing, right? 18 AC on a monk is the same as 18 AC on a paladin.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is also what I don't like if they get restrained or somehow can't move, that the dodge AC stays the same as the armor AC. Always kind of found that. As if
Yeah.
like maybe he's like a drunken style, the unconscious monk just like dodging out of the way.
Fair enough. No,
But
man, like heavy armor in our system will actually affect your movement per turn and your initiative bonus because it's freaking heavy armor. So your ability to react and how quick you can is a part of it. And then your armor and stuff can decrease it. All of these things made so much more sense to me on how to do things. And now you have light characters that are harder to hit and heavy tanks that are harder to damage, but actually pretty easy to hit. But that's
Yeah,
kind of built into their whole playstyle.
same in Ishanek on World Shapers. You have evasion and you have armor. And a heavy armor gives you a higher baseline armor, but it has a lower evasion cap, which evasion cap limits how much of your natural evasion you can actually use. Plus, the weight is higher, so if your strength isn't high enough, you have very limited inventory space if you wear heavy armor. But it's not as limiting
Uh,
that it makes you slower or lowers your initiative. I didn't want to overcomplicate that part.
to touch back on alignment, I think it's overall better that they're getting rid of it or removing it because, for the most part, from what I can tell, for years of playing, alignment is more of a tool used to hurt the game. It's more of a, oh, you're not role playing correctly. Well, who's making that judgment call? Well, the DM is. Okay, so I need to play the character by your standards to maintain my alignment. And if I don't play by yours, then I don't have it. And that's not how a role playing game works, right? Like, uh,
Sure.
I've never seen alignment be used to the benefit of the player. Like I've always heard, and the GM tricks you. Oh, that was not chicken you were eating. That was the flesh of a phoenix, and you've committed a sin now. You lose your alignment because that's an evil act, as it says in the first edition book, to eat a phoenix, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, that paladin didn't know they were doing that, but if this alignment system is the way it is, then I guess they lost their whole class because they took a meal.
The alignment system
See, I don't.
mostly just works if everybody at the table has a deep understanding of it. And of course, the GM isn't trying to trick you. Like, that's just like
But
evil
what I would say,
DMing, if you
Blaze, is it's
ask
not a
me.
but it's not a deep understanding of it. I think, as the Eternal kind of mentioned as well, this was originally a Gygaxian concept, right?
Yes.
So if you take 5 white guys from Minnesota in 1950, I bet they all have, especially when they go to the same groups, they live in the same town. I bet they're moralistically pretty similar. So I doubt they ever had the alignment discussion at their table, right? If you go to church with your neighbor, and your parents go to the same ice cream socials, and you grow up with these people and you kind of work around them, you have a common sense system that all of you kind of already agree on, right? Alignment shifts when you take one person from Texas, one person from Seattle, one person from Germany, one person from Ohio, with all different lives and we all play a game and they go, oh, well, this is a bad action now. And some of us might say, well, I don't understand. Like, how is that a bad action when it creates more good? But the paladin rules say you can't do an action that creates bad. It's like, okay, if I put down this dog from biting this child, I've killed this guy's dog, which is a bad action, but I've stopped it from hurting a child, which is a good action. But alignment wise, the paladin loses their class. And we
See,
would have that argument because 2 of us might agree and 2 might not. I just think alignment worked back when you had a very tight group of people. But as soon as you start going out into the world and changing all these things, and bringing it to new crowds, that's where alignment starts to fail because it relies upon agreed upon moralistic ideals of good evil.
That's why I say when I meant with understanding the alignment system, less about applying your own sense of morality, but applying the game sense of morality to itself or the world that you play in. I agree that in most cases, it's not a good thing. In most cases, it's a negative for the game. But I think it's not 100% bad. If you have a capable group, it can give the game something.
see, I think it's really the design of it. Like, we keep going like it's about your table or the setting, and I'm like, Well, let's look at some of the things that are hitting common between us. We don't want it forced on the game. We don't want it to have negative implications. If it could somehow add to the game, well, I got to say that it's not necessarily something that is going to world change somebody that's been playing role playing games for 10 years. But the biggest wall to get over to come into tabletop by people when I asked him, like, why don't you play? And it's like, I don't know, it seems hard. It's like, well, what about it? It's like everyone's sitting there doing voices and playing a character, and I've never done that. Well, my alignment system is for you. You might be like, well, what does it mean by, well, good? Well, it actually comes from a perspective of your personal understanding of it. It's trying to guide your understanding to help you put yourself into the character. So we have the good, evil, neutral. We have the law and chaos, but we added order. Order was one that was missing because you can go, well, it's the law to not kill, but I'm in a thieves guild. It's order to not kill our marks. We only steal from them. But if a guard's coming at us, we can surely kill them because that protects the guild. Well, now it's not something that's good or evil. It's, are you doing what's in the best interest of the guild or not?
But that's the
That
thing.
added
Lawful is order in the alignment sense. Uh,
not it. Okay, but think about this.
the,
Are you going to sit there and tell me, no, no, the law between the Kingdom of England is so the same thing as the Thieves Guild's law? There's no difference. They're morally the same kind of thing. You
that's
would
like
say
the
that there's no
main
reason to separate that.
misunderstanding about lawful alignment. It's not about following the law. It's following about a strict set of rules. But what kind of rules those are can vary widely. Maybe it is the law of the land, but it can also be the code of a paladin, which is independent of the law
Yeah.
of a nation. Or the thief skills, as you have like a really honorable thief kind of part type who is really just insanely strict when it comes to I have these set of rules and I will not stay out of them. Then that's a lawful neutral, a lawful evil character. Like
So the
I think that's one
reason,
of the main problems about misunderstandings. Lawful does not mean I follow the law. Lawful means I follow a set of
yes, but here's the deal. Instead of trying to defend it like you did, I added order, and now nobody makes that misunderstanding. That's the point.
Okay,
Is you
fair
can
enough.
call it just law, but the law of the king, the law of the land is not at all a personal vow or personal morality or a code of honor or ethics. These are separate from law because law is unchanging and decided by some divine or legal authority. You as a group of people can come together as like 5 or 6 people as this team. We're going to make this our stand, our position. This is what we are bounding our actions to. And that is order. Once I made that separation, and I did that in other areas, I didn't have the misunderstandings. Like we have a kind of adopted from Magic the Gathering, a color system of different personality traits. So you can pick 1 to 3 colors and you can go, well, how would I respond at this moment? I don't know. Like as a new player, you've never role played. Well, look at your behavior and traits. You just understood your character and you can go, oh, wait, yeah, I forgot that I'm kind of like selfish. No, fuck you, little kid. I'm not going to feed you. Go screw off. I don't care if your family's starving because you're a selfish character that's also very blunt and rude. So you as someone that's never role played could benefit from my system. But if you're like, I don't need help playing this character, ignore it. It is worthless to you. That's why I say I don't like an alignment system that's forced. I like an alignment system that can help you as a tool to understand how to play your character. Maybe even I've played a paladin my whole life. Now I want to play an evil warlock. How the heck should I do that? Well, here's a little reference that you can keep going back to, and it reminds you of certain things. That's how an alignment system nowadays should be. Shouldn't affect the mechanics, shouldn't affect the gameplay over the player's personal decisions of how to play their character.
I mean, I'll give you that with the um, I- that it may be badly designed if it's easily to misunderstand. I mean, I give you that one, but still, I think when judging the system, we should apply it how it was meant and not how it is understood to right. It's the same with wisdom and intelligence. Okay, the name is a bad choice. That's also why it changes to instinct, but we should try to analyze it in the sense it was meant and not in the sense that's often misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. In a lot of
And
cases, but I think everyone's given up on Gygaxian ideas. Like,
most
how many
people, yeah.
people remember Gygaxian initiative? That
Well,
actually was really different, unique, and um, been gone for a long time.
how does that work?
Well, if you're a slow character like a barbarian, you would typically roll a d20 for your initiative. If you're a rogue, you got a d4, and the closest to 1 goes first.
Ah, okay.
And personally, to me, I think people give too much to class. I think maybe species is a better thing that would determine that speed die or initiative die. But again, it's how original design of it was done when he came up with that particular type of initiative, and it's changed several times since then. But yeah, nah, he had some interesting ideas for classic stuff, like different experience rates being a part of character class balance. That's nobody thinks of that anymore.
I mean, aren't there a few old school tabletop RPGs that try to lean into that designs nowadays? I mean, of course, they are not mainstream, but I do think that they still exist.
There might be, because I was, when you said not mainstream, I'm like, okay, so most mainstream ones don't do experience. Most systems I see now are just like arbitrary level at the end of session, or hey, at this point, like, milestone style. Experience systems, like, I'm an outlier on using experience. And I know that going into like putting this out there. But like, no, I actually haven't seen many experience systems or a differential in experience cost. Short of like White Wolf Publishing, but it's just different experience costs per thing. Like, some things will be 4 times current level, some things will be 5 times current level.
Yeah, I think the last time I can remember an experience differential was 3.0 with their if you multi-class, you get 20% less experience for some reason, like to punish the fact that you have 2 classes and you can tap into 2 different things. Um, but I think most people threw away that rule because it felt bad and dumb. Um, that being said, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with the first edition idea there of different XP for different classes. So, yes, your level 7 fighter was equal to your level 3 wizard, and that in XP, but of course, the wizard could cast haste and could fireball and these things, which were all big deals. But the fighter, of course, had a bunch more hit points and had access to more abilities. I think the old first edition one, you got followers as well.
Yep.
So, a higher level fighter, you would have 10 extra buddies to do stuff for you when you went into town, which
I,
changes the role play a bit, right? Like, instead of a
I
fighter
did
walking
like
in,
the balance they had for the followers. Like, look, if you look it up, I don't remember if it was experience included, but you were paying for their food. There was a cost to them. So like, if you had them, you're adding a burden to the party. So it's like, yeah, it makes you more badass, but does it make the overall, because back then, dude, stuff was brutal. You would heal an HP per hour. If you could heal up to 3 HP. No, sorry, per day. My bad. D&D 1 was per day healing. Like, you would have months of downtime to heal like a broken leg. And it's realistic, but we're trying to kill the beast before it heals. Come on, man. Like, I see why that went away. But man, yeah, no, it was way more brutal back then. You could lose levels from, I forget what move it was. It's some move now that like does a hell of a lot of damage. But back then, you rolled, I think, a D4 or D6 to, and that's how many levels this would take away from the player that was hit. It's like,
Yeah.
it was a lot more brutal back then.
And I think that's also why it's more niche, right? The harder a game, the less people want to play it. Of to a
That's
certain
true.
degree, right? Of course, if it gets too easy, then again, not many people want to play it.
I mean, things can be difficult or hard. They just have to be rewarding, right? Like
Mhm.
it felt dumb for certain mechanics that were, hey, you're going to be punished, and if you're not punished, it sucks to still have this, right? Like if you're playing the fighter in first edition and the GM decides that, well, you haven't paid your upkeep for your 10 extra buddies. It's like, dude, I didn't ask for this. They came with the fucking class. Like, I never wanted 10 extra dudes. Take them. I fire them all. It's like, well, they're part of your class now. Like, this is your burden to bear. It's like, no, this is a dumb mechanic. I didn't ask for 10 extra mouths to feed. Okay, fine. Every dungeon, I'm sending 10 guys in first, and every dude that gets out gets a sandwich. But most of them will probably just die because they have 2 hit points and they're level 3. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is people love hard games, Dark Souls, Elden Rings, things like that, because you can get better at them and you can get a reward from defeating those difficult enemies. I think we'll always have that problem in tabletop games with making mechanics that introduce burdens but don't feel good, because a lot of what we do anyway still comes down to randomly generated numbers. So you can
Yeah.
even come up with, I have this great idea, I have a rousing speech, I'm quoting Winston Churchill if he was best friends with Aragorn, and we're about to storm in there, and I rolled a 2. And now the 10 guys who said they were most loyal to me in the world are laughing at my speech before the black gate of Sauron duct
Oh,
taped to the Baron Strahd. Like, and you're like, well, that's just how dice works. Looks like your guy made a huge fart noise in the middle of his speech, and
I'll
nobody
be
cares.
honest. I that is one thing I hate about like large dice and how swingy they can be. So like that's why we added the skill die and ability die into our system. Is it modifies the bell curve to where as you're getting more skilled as a character, improving the training levels of what you're rolling, you're actually going to have a higher and higher chance of higher numbers. And it's just a way to translate the skill, because I hate moments like that. The master mage should never blow up the house because they're trying to light the fire in the den. That just should not be a thing. Also, am I the only one that think like in a system design? A lot of people have used this in homebrew, but how many other game masters or designers have put it in that I want to know what my player is going to try and say? Then I determine the difficulty. So if it's like men that have always been loyal to me, we must charge. Don't even roll for that. Go. If it's people that want to kill you, hey, we should go. We're gonna die. Like I will lead us. Okay, give me a roll. This is gonna have extra difficulty to it and everything like that. I want to know what you're trying to say to who, so that I can actually determine how well that argument would work against that person, instead of just having let the dice decide. Ultimately it's like, no, I think if I walked into the room and told my friend Audie, hey, we need to go outside, this guy's starting to kick around the cats, we're gonna walk outside with bats. There's no convincing him, there's no skill to the role, I don't need any social skills. My presented statement is enough to have convinced him. Instead, I see most tabletop game designs kind of going in reverse. It's here's how difficult that's going to be. What do you like? What do you roll? Okay, what was it you actually said? And they kind of go in reverse.
I I mean that mostly depends on how the game master handles this. I think.
Well, yeah, but
Well,
I was saying like game design options.
well,
Like
I think it
we
runs.
designed that how to be it works in our game.
I
Yeah.
believe it runs into the same problem of, hey, are you a really strong dude? Can you do a backflip?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, I cannot do a backflip. Okay, but my character can. He has plus 15 to acrobatics, and I would like to roll that. Some people aren't good at coming up with epic speeches, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't have that. And so the dice assists with, all right, cool. Like, what do you want to do? I want to inspire these people. I want to do a rousing speech and, tell them, give them my all. All right, sweet. Give me a roll. We'll see how much you inspire.
But at the
Yeah,
same time, the exact thing you just said, I could use instead of having a detailed description. Like, I'm going to stand up there and use
oh,
my charisma, putting out a leadership, because that's one of our skills. I'm going to use leadership to push out and try and convince these people to follow with our actions. Well, I'm going to think, is this town going to look at him like he's crazy? Are they already under assault by this said enemy? Are they
sure.
likely or not to
That
agree with it?
that's
Is
all
it
GM
irrelevant?
side, but that's
Yeah.
all
Well,
GM
that's
side.
actually
Matt.
that's our GM stuff built into the system. So in our system, it's actually the rules as is. You're wanting to look at that, and we have things that make it really simple to make that decision.
Anyway,
It,
I think we're kind of just discussing in circles. Plus, we are pretty far away from the original topic of the stream, so I would suggest we stop the stream now. Um, and yeah, also because we did mention some technical difficulties, and I want to go too much into details, but I
Yeah,
don't
not a
think
problem.
it's a good idea to run the stream much longer. uh, anyway, thank you for everyone who joined and watching in the future. And we, of course, will be back with more streams. We'll still have to think of a topic for next time. But hey, if you've got any topics, why not suggest them in the comments? Anyway, see you everybody next time.
Have a
Bye.
good one. Bye.